theme of our stories is lost and found. And I'm going to bring this up with me, even though I probably won't even look at it, but I have it. I had something pretty significant in my life that I had to lose before I could find some amazing blessings in my life. I'm a singer. I lived in New York for a long time, and I sang in clubs and sang with bands, and I was working in restaurants, and it was there that I started a 25-year relationship with alcohol. And that relationship followed me home to San Francisco, and then here to Rhode Island, where it settled into a nice, comfortable bottle of wine a night. Now, I knew that it was an issue for me. I prayed to God to take it away from me, but I just couldn't do it. And I kind of lived my life in a fog. I was happy, I was singing, I was a mom, I owned a restaurant, life was going just fine, but I just had this haze. My friend Pat knew that. So one day she came into my restaurant, she said, "I'm going on my annual retreat, and I think you should come with me." I'm like, all right, what is this? She said, "It's a Catholic charismatic retreat. It's 3 days, and it's at a convent in Connecticut." I'm like, yeah, right. Right up my alley. I'm not Catholic. I'm somewhat charismatic, but I really don't know what that means. And though I guess there might be a communion of some sort there, but I don't think I could go 3 days without drinking. So I said, I'm sorry, I really don't think it's for me, but I appreciate that a lot. Well, I went home, and a couple of days later, I was sitting in my chair, that my family calls my prayer chair, and I just had this feeling. I'm like, maybe I need to go. I know it sounds weird, but maybe I need to go. Maybe this is the answer to my prayers. So I called Pat and I said, all right, I'm going. I don't know why, but I'm going to go. She said, great. Now I want you to bring something with you that you're going to leave behind there when you go. And I knew the drinking was an issue, but at the time, both of our kids were going through a very serious health issues, both of the kids. And I had a lot of fear and a lot of stress about that. So I thought, I'm going to take that with me. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to unload that, and that'll be good. Well, about 5 minutes into the retreat, I realized that was just not the plan for me, and that was not what I was supposed to leave there. The retreat was amazing, and that's a whole nother night, a whole nother story. But what I will tell you is I left that place 2.5 years ago without a trace of desire for alcohol, not a trace. I have never been to AA. I don't bite my nails. It's just gone. It's just a total miracle for me. And I'll tell you, the blessings started to flow in immediately. I started writing again. I was happy. I was just open. I was just like this vessel, and I was just so primed for an experience, for an opportunity. And in walked Kate Goldman. Kate, raise your hand. Where is she? She came into my restaurant. She had a great opportunity. She said, "I love your gospel choir. Can they perform for this group of kids I have coming from Uganda? I'm supposed to book them in the schools, and I thought it'd be great if you guys would sing before one of their concerts." And I said, "Yeah, that sounds awesome. Tell me about it." She said, "Well, I don't know much, but I'll hook you up with Mary Lou Lamontagne. She's here too. She's their choir director, and she lives in Warwick." So I said, "Great." So we met, and Mary Lou told me that there's 120 kids that lived at the Kampala Children's Center in Uganda. And they were orphans. They were adopted by the center, but they lost their parents from AIDS or war. And they started this choir at the center as a means of healing. And they had been on tour before. They had been to the UK, they sang for the Prime Minister, and they were coming to the East Coast for a tour. And I said, "That's awesome." And Mary Lou said, "Well, I'm in charge of their bookings and their transportation and their housing. How would you like to have some kids at your house for the tour?" I'm like, "Oh, no, I can't do that. I'm so busy. I mean, I got a restaurant, I've got kids, there's no way I can do it." But I realized that was the old Dana who might have said that, because my home was kind of private, kind of a little sanctuary for me. But that wasn't the case so much anymore. And I talked to my family about it, and they said, "Yeah, let's do it." So we did. We had 3 darling little girls come to our house. The youngest was 9, the oldest was 13. And I can't tell you, but they are the most beautiful, gracious, glorious, just kids you would ever know. Then we became very close with them while they were living in our house. Loved their culture and everything about them. Loved to hear them sing, and it was great. But all good things come to an end, and it was time to say goodbye. And we were in Connecticut at this closing party concert, and we were saying goodbye, and I had the 3 girls in my arms. I was like their mom at this point. And we were saying goodbye, we were crying. I'm like, I'll see you again, I promise. And they all looked at me like, you can't mean that. And I said, I promise, I'll see you again. And they left. And a couple days later, I was folding laundry, and I came across Faith's undershirt. It was like this big, she's 9, so it's this tiny, tiny little undershirt. And I folded it, and I had it in my hand, and I said, I have to get this back to Faith. She needs this undershirt. I have to go to Africa. So that's how it started. And the journey to Africa had lots of potholes in it. The biggest one being that my daughter, Ellie, was supposed to go with me. And we made all of our plans, we bought our tickets, we were ready to go, and we found out at the last minute she couldn't because of some health reasons. So that was difficult. But I knew that I was supposed to go. Because one day I was sitting in that chair, my famous chair, and I was reading one of my daily meditation books, and the title of it was, I Am Your Song. And I sat there for a moment, I said, I am your song. What a beautiful thing. I am your song. I am God's song. And those kids are God's song when they sing. And it was, one of those things you read about where I just picked up the pen and I just started writing an entire song, all the lyrics, all the harmonies, all the voicings, all the chords, everything just was like, shoo. It took me about 20 minutes to write it down. And I sent it to the choir director in Uganda, and he's like, oh my God, it's beautiful, you need to come right now, come. So I got on a plane with my friend Mary Lou, who accompanied me, and we landed on the tarmac, and the first thing that hits you is just the smells. It's just so different. Just the smell hits you, and you're like, oh my God, we're not in Kansas anymore. So we got to the center the next morning, and the kids ran out. Like, it was the sweetest reunion. They hugged us, and we were just crying. That was just beautiful, and we got right to work. At the same time that we were there was a conference going on about 1,200 pastors from all over Uganda. And Arnold, who runs the center, was in charge of the conference. And Herbert, the choir director, and some of the older kids from the center were doing all the praise and worship music. So he was off site, so I got the kids all day long, about 40 kids. I taught them, I Believe I Can Fly, and Oh Happy Day, and I taught them, I Am Your Song. And later in the week, Herbert came up to me and he said, I want you to sing at the conference. And I said, oh, well, I didn't bring anything with me, I'm not prepared, that whole thing. So I said, what about the kids? Can the kids do their song? He's like, that's a great idea. So the very last day of our trip, we went to this place, this big, huge outdoor place. There was tents set up everywhere, and the kids were in their little starched yellow costumes, and they went under their tent, and I was outside of the tent, and I was directing them. And we start the song, and I'm directing, and then everything's going well, and all of a sudden, it started raining on my head. I'm like, all right, it's all good, it's fine, it's just a little rain, it's not gonna hurt. And all of a sudden, it really started to rain, and they were fine, they were under the tent, I was outside, and I just got drenched. And then it hit me as they're singing my lyrics to the song, which were, your spirit fills me up, so I am overflowing. You pour your blessings down like a rain upon the land. And that's repeated over and over, and I'm like, oh my God, this is not a coincidence. So they finished the song, and I was like, got off stage, and some of the Ugandans came up to me and they said, you know what that was, right? You know what that was? And I'm like, what? What was it? He said, that's the ultimate blessing. It's rain. It's the ultimate blessing for us because it never rains. And I was like, wow. But it wasn't that hit me. It was when we got to the parking lot, and it was time to say goodbye to these kids. And it's this dirt parking lot, and we're hugging and kissing and crying, and it was just sad. And they got on their bus, and all the windows were down. They're in their costumes and hanging out of the bus. They're like, bye, bye. And they go to pull out, and they start singing my song at the top of their lungs, like a camp song. They were just belting it, and they left, and I could hear them going down the street singing the song. And I just stood there in the parking lot. I'm like, I'm in Africa, and these kids are singing my song on a bus, and they're driving down the street. And I knew at that moment that if I had not let go of that thing that I had been holding on to for so long, that I never would have had that experience. And I know there's people out there tonight that are holding on to some stuff they feel like they can't let go of, but you can. And let me tell you this, once you do, you're going to find amazing blessings. Thank you.